Mr. Lawler, I've offered this man a lot of money to do this, okay? Because it's worth it to me. However, I don't care if I end up penniless. I don't care if I have to spend my life savings. I will see to it that you end up in the hospital for 1 week, Mr. Lawler. Do you understand me?
I need me a Japanese.
I love it! I love it! I'm gonna meet people from everywhere! I need me a Japanese! I don't have to defend the title tonight. I really don't.
I'm here and I'm gonna be here until I feel like I wanna leave. And if you don't like me being here, train to be a professional wrestler, get in this ring, and I'll beat you like I own you.
Hello there, folks. Welcome to Talking Tourneys number 3, where we're going to be talking about King of the Ring 1993. I am one of your hosts, Sam Damasio, and with me, as always, Dan Rice. Dan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Sam. Ready to talk about King of the Ring.
Ready to talk about King of the Ring. So before we get started, what is kind of your history with the tournament? So, because I'll upfront say, I have never seen the tournament until we did this episode.
I saw this tournament, but definitely not at the time. See, I don't know. I don't think I have the memories that some people have, because they'll be like, my first match was, IRS versus Skinner 1992, or you know what I mean? But I know that this is around the time that I understood that wrestling existed. And 95 is when I really became a fan. 95 is when I was like, this is my life, So I went back and rewatched a lot of, because I started loving Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. So I went back and rewatched this when I was a kid. And it took place, 3 hours from my house, but I didn't obviously go.
Before, yeah, I guess like...
Before, when I would have been 5, that would have been like...
Yeah, and it happening before you really knew that you are going to dedicate your childhood and adulthood to watching this stupid thing.
Yeah.
Got it. Cool.
I will have you know, my mom did drive me to Dayton sometimes, such as to sit in the parking lot because she refused to go in to see Necro Butcher versus BJ Whitmer in War of the Wire 2.
You know what? Wild of her. Also, don't blame her. What a dedicated person. What a dedicated person.
It's when I look back on it, I go, what an insane thing for me to ask her to do. Hey, can we just drive to Dayton this Saturday? And even more insane for her to be like, sure, but I am not going in. But I guess that's like probably the most sane.
Yeah, did she do anything? Did she go out, like drive around town?
She was a big reader.
Okay.
She would read. Like I think I've talked about it, maybe in the Desert Comp episode. She would go to WWE events because they were in bigger arenas. She didn't want to go inside a fairground or whatever, but she would bring her book into the show. So she hated The Undertaker. She hated Kane. Anyone who had your lights go out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I remember that.
But she's sitting there trying to read her novel.
I can't imagine any ROH venue being in a great part of town.
No. And I'm letting my mom just sit there, read a book outside of some fairground in Dayton. Dayton, there's no great part of Dayton to begin with. Sorry, Dayton.
No, no one's listening here from Dayton. It's fine. So that's your experience with King of the Ring.
King of the Ring, yeah.
I've never seen the show. This is the year after I'm born. So, fair to say, not a wrestling fan quite yet. And I did not grow up on Bret. I didn't really grow up on Shawn. So, these are not wrestlers that particularly stay with me all that much. But this is obviously a pretty important tournament. It's the first King of the Ring. Which they make... What's up?
It's not really the first King of the Ring. They just pretend it is.
What do you mean?
This is like the 5th King of the Ring. This is like the first one on pay-per-view.
Okay, yes.
Or maybe, actually, I was way off. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th King of the Ring, maybe?
Okay, this is the first King of the Ring pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
But they do kind of, unless I'm missing it, they do kind of pretend that none of those other ones happen.
Oh, absolutely. If you watch this, they will make you truly believe nothing has happened previously as far as King of the Rings go. Which is interesting. Which is a move. It's not like this is not a new promotion. Been around for a little bit. For a hot minute. Bret Hart is the last winner of the last King of the Ring, 1991. going into this. That is never brought up. That might as well not exist. For this episode, we're going to go through the qualifying matches before we get into the actual show. And this will not be the case with every single time out, but we will be going through the whole show for the purposes of this episode rather than just the tournament matches. Now,
because you have a chance to watch Hulk Hogan versus Yokozuna. You got to do it.
You do it. You got to the finish. Let's hop into it. We're going to go into the qualifying matches. I'm not going to say things like the TV show it aired on. I don't understand anything about the WWF TV schedule. It makes no sense to me. Challenge, Superstars, Raw. It's nonsense. I truly believe that. First qualifying match took place on May 1st, 1993. Obviously. Mr. Perfect versus Doink the Clown. Doink jumps Hennig before the match even starts. That's kind of how this whole thing starts off. I think this is a fun little number, but what's kind of important here is like this ends in double time limit draw, which doesn't make any sense to me because it does not last any sort of time that would go that long. If it's TV time remaining, that also doesn't seem to make sense because there's a lot of time after the match that occurs. I don't get it. Dan, what don't I get?
Well, I wrote the word, I probably have 30 words written about this, and the word weird is written 6 times.
Heck yeah.
I mean, you're right. Doink starts out the heel. He jumps him. But there's a large section where Perfect is going for near falls, and Doink is just kicking out over and over again, like a triumphant babyface. You know what I mean? There's a commercial break in the middle, and then the finish comes out of nowhere, and it was technically good. I liked everything they were doing. It just was all very, very strange.
Yeah, it's a fun match. It doesn't have a lot of meat on the bones, and it definitely feels like they're going in knowing, okay, there's no definitive conclusion here. We don't have to work to a finish. We don't have to ramp this up. We can just kind of stay at the same level throughout. And they do that pretty much, to me. The commercial break was one of the most obvious bits I've seen in professional wrestling in a minute, where Hennig gets a goddammer of a knee lift on Doink, and then it goes straight to commercial. I'm like, oh, he's not going to be on the advantage when he comes back. And then Doink is just immediately in control when we come back, and I'm like, all right, what are we doing here? So it's a little bit silly, but yes, I'm with you. It's good. It's just kind of also kind of a who cares situation, I guess. I don't know. Anything else you want to kind of bring to the first of multiple Perfect versus Doink matches?
No, I'm comfortable just saying weird one more time.
All right, cool. Luger versus Lex Luger versus Bob Backlund, May 2nd. As we discussed before we started this episode, this is on the WWE YouTube channel. Dan, you had thoughts, you said. Give me some thoughts.
Yeah, because you forgot you even watched this match, and I loved it. I don't remember liking this era of Luger. It's actually like when I went back and watched, I remember like hating this era of Luger, but he was great here. Babyface Backlund was on fire, pissing Luger off with all the chain wrestling. Luger bails out and is just so mad. And I mean, I don't know. The match is probably only like 5 minutes, but it works perfect. Even the finish, which is a count out finish, worked out because it's Luger establishing that he has like a metal plate in his forearm.
I think it's messed up that Luger will have to pad that guy up. I think that's unfair of the World Wrestling Federation to put that on him. He did not ask for it. It was forced upon him. No person gets a steel plate inserted into them. Unfair, unjust.
Yeah, I do like the pro wrestling idea that makes you so much stronger.
Yes, not that it just means like, oh, your bones are completely brittle. So this unnatural thing is being plugged in there. And if you hit it real hard, it actually probably will hurt a whole bunch.
Now, between this and the pay-per-view, am I going crazy, or do they alternate between it being his elbow and his forearm?
I do think that is correct. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's just a general arm thing.
It's just the whole arm's
The
metal.
whole
because
arm is just metal.
That pad moves places too. It's weird.
Yes. I do like you said, I like how it establishes that Luger's not a pro wrestler, not a wrestler's wrestler. And he's all about using his gimmick. And that's what we get. It's all right. It's fun. It's fun. Going back to it, now that looking over my notes, I'm like, okay, yes, my brain's mush. It's a 5-minute match, though, so I'm not going to hold that against myself too bad. All right, moving on to May 8th. Razor Ramon versus Tito Santana. 2 Latin icons. Dan, what were you thinking here?
This one's, I think, even shorter than the last one. But Tito is insanely over. And there's a near fall that, despite knowing Razor's in the pay-per-view, I almost buy with the big forearm, and the Razor gets his foot on the ropes at the last second. It was, again, super fun.
Yeah, I think the forearm kicks butt. It just feels like he explodes into it. Yeah, it's all right. I don't have any complaints here. This is an all right way to get Razor into the tournament. May 9th, Jim Duggan versus Papa Shango. What are we thinking, Dan?
This stopped being fun.
It stopped being fun?
Yeah, I was like, we're such a roll. All these qualifying matches are great. Not this. It was in slow motion, and everything seemed so light. Like, they were barely hitting each other, but they were doing it as slowly as possible to barely hit each other. I think I wrote the definition of skippable. I would never recommend someone watch it.
This is the special Mother's Day weekend match, just to be
True.
clear, as Jim Ross and Bobby the Brain want to let you know. Is that like a big thing back in these days to really celebrate all the holidays on any opportunity? Like, they're making a big deal. This is a Mother's Day weekend special. I'm like, who is this? What mother is deciding that this is how they want to spend their day? Their night? Their anything? No one. None of them.
Shango and Duggan.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what you give them? I actually don't hate this match. I like Duggan so much in anything. So even just watching him putz around here, it's not a bad use of my time. But also, I'm not going to say, hey, go after this one. I will say, Duggan decided that for the qualifying match, Shango's not going to get the full Monty, so he gets a 3-point clothesline, not a 3-point tackle. There you go. That's all you need to know, really. Moving on. May 10th, Bam Bam Bigelow versus Typhoon. Dan, what are you thinking?
This was back to being fun. This was 2 big guys slamming into each other, and Typhoon was so big. He makes Bam Bam look small, and he kind of just throws him around a little.
Yeah,
and
it's very funny how they kind of work that dynamic, for sure.
Yeah. Like, I know Bam Bam's an agile big guy, but the way that Typhoon was picking him up and slamming him down, it was kind of nuts. And then Bam Bam made sure to do the opposite. When he's trying to lift Typhoon, there's just determination, and it's obviously a lot harder. But yeah, I thought this was fun. I thought this was really good.
Yeah, this is definitely a fun way to kind of get back into things. Bam Bam doesn't really I have not seen Bam Bam work a lot as the not biggest person in the match by a good bit. Bam Bam hits a Samoan drop from God himself is what I have, and then hits the flying headbutt for the win to continue on into the tournament. Moving on to May 15th, Tanaka versus Giant Gonzalez. This is a whatever match in my book, if there ever was one. Tanaka's comeback, I thought was fun, with him just kind of delivering chops from all angles. This really doesn't have a lot going for it. I know, like, it's cliche to say Giant Gonzalez not very good, but Giant Gonzalez not very good.
I wrote 3 words. Hey, Bill Alfonso.
Bill Alfonso. Well,
like, I was excited for that.
He's weak. He's weak here. He
Yeah.
immediately DQs Giant Gonzalez for the lightest shove you've ever seen. So that's a wet fart. my book.
He was Gonzalez's. I think he was like, I don't know the term, like his handler during this time. That's why he's in this match. But I just love Bill Alfonso, and I didn't care about anything else in the match. So
I think it did no favors to Gonzalez that he gets DQ'd. The bell rings. And then instead of just like, counting his blessings, saying, all right, moving on with my life, got the heat. He decides to give one of the dirt worst choke slams you ever did see on Tanaka. And I'm like, damn, you really look like a real son of a bitch right now. That is not an impressive feat of strength. Let me tell you, you sad sack of a wrestler. That's what I got. That's what I got. Ready to move on to the next qualifying match?
Yep.
What's old is new again. It is May 16th, Mr. Perfect versus Doink the Clown number 2. I think I like this match more than the first match. But this is another time limit draw, baby. We got another one. I, once again, don't understand the concept of how they're structuring these matches. But I thought it's good. These two are like just understand how to work, which is sort of a lazy critique of the match or a lazy review of the match. But I just generally think they understand how to make it compelling, make their motions compelling in a match that is sub 10 minutes long. So, what are your thoughts, Dan?
I like this one better than the first one. They're kind of really laying it in, it seems like. But you're right. I mean, they're just good workers. They know how to work a TV match. Again, the time limit. I didn't time it, but I think time limit must be 5.5 minutes. I don't know. Such a weird time. And then I guess Perfect wants more time afterwards, right? He wants 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
is like, he didn't really want 5 more. Like, why is it funny? Like this time he wants 5 more minutes. Last time he wasn't really asking for it.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's like, we got to finish this now. I don't know. The whole seeding of the tournament, the qualifying and tournament is a little of a gray, vague area where they're just like, we need matches. We'll have Doink and Perfect do it 3 times.
Yes. Yeah. Let's give these two pros some time to do the business. All right. Moving on. Just to note, there is another qualifying match on May 23rd between Crush and Shawn Michaels that ends in a double countout. I nor Dan could find this match online, so who gives a flying fuck?
It begs the question, though, why do they run Doink and Perfect until there's a winner, but not Crush and Shawn?
Yeah. I guess the only thought is one's a double count out, one's a double is a time limit.
Time limit, yeah.
Does it make sense?
So I guess the draw is there is no winner. The double count out is you're both losers.
Dang, that really contextualizes what that means.
Yeah, I figured it out there.
That's true. That does add up. The math checks out. But there we go. We're moving on to the final Mr. Perfect versus Doink the Clown match. May 24th on Raw. I have to go back through the times on these matches, but to me, it doesn't make any sense. This is very clearly the longest match of them. It's real good. I thought this was real good.
Which doesn't make any sense because the other two have been time limit draws.
Yeah. So, like, what is the situation here that allows them to go longer?
Yeah.
I don't know. But this is like a really strong end to things here. They're doing a weird thing with Doink around this time, which someone's going to be like, well, obviously this is what the storyline was at the time, brother. And I'll be like, I don't know. I haven't been paying attention at all. But doing twin Doink gimmick and Doink always saying it's an illusion of some sort. And they try to do twin magic more or less to the finish, which is just an oddball bit that I can get behind. But I think this match is real good. I think during the kind of middle portion, this sort of feels like, okay, they're shooting on each other to a degree because they're really laying it in. And it looks like Curt at one point tries to do a shoot double leg takedown on the outside, which I was like, hell yeah. But yeah, this match rules. This is a really good kind of finale to that little series, and it really makes watching these qualifying matches worth it.
No, yeah, I like this one. You know, the best of the three. It just kept building, and like I said, it was really good. I could see if I was watching at the time, not liking the twin doink stuff, but just jumping in, like you said, loved it. Thought it was great. And whether or not that was a shoot or what, but like Perfect is really good at being frustrated. Whether he was really frustrated or selling that he's frustrated, he looked mad, and that's fun.
Yeah, he's definitely going to look mad for matches to come. That's for sure.
And it feels weird to point out, like, it doesn't need pointing out, he takes really big bumps. Like, that is the Mr. Perfect thing, but it's impressive when you watch it.
Yeah, it works. It works. I think this match rocks, and I think it's definitely worth going out of your way to see. All right. Last matchup here. 5:30. Mr. Hughes versus Kamala. I got not a whole lot to say about this one other than Hughes was throwing those bungalows immediately. And Kamala doesn't have a lot of offense that's worth talking about, but he throws the tiniest little sidekick that just brought a smile to my face. Dan, what are your thoughts on this match?
Well, I mean, what is it, 2 minutes long?
Yep.
I don't have a lot of strong thoughts. I like Mr. Hughes a lot. I think on our first episode, I talked about how I've seen Madman Pondo a lot now that they've moved down here to the West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio area. Another guy who you wouldn't think is on the scene a lot, Mr. Hughes. He is in Charleston, West Virginia, I would say once every other month.
That's wild.
I don't know. I thought he lived somewhere in the South, but he's constantly either teaming with Shane Douglas or managing Shane Douglas.
That's
I've met him. He's a nice guy.
Also very funny, that combo.
Yeah. And that's really all I got. He's a really nice guy. And there wasn't really enough here to judge. I mean, Hughes hit 2 drop kicks I like that Kamala didn't really sell.
Rude.
Yeah, that's all I got, though.
All right, let's get into it. We're now entering the show here. And our first match, do you want to go anything around that little pre-show intro? There's not a whole lot there, but everything you want to say there? Or we ready to
No, I mean, it's funny now that they have like the 4-hour pre-shows because they just got right to it. Like JR, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Macho Man scream about how Dayton's the Heartland and we're going to get a King of the Ring and Hulkamania, and then we go.
Yeah, like this is really right into the action here. And first up is Bret Hart versus Razor Ramon. I am curious, Dan, what your thoughts are on this one, since this has some interesting feedback online.
I really like it. Number one thing is Bret Hart is the number 1 seed. That's important. He doesn't have to qualify, which I guess makes Razor Ramon the 8th seed.
And does it, though? Does it?
It doesn't make sense to me. But
I don't think it does. I don't think it does.
You would think the number 1 seed would face the 8th seed, but no, I mean, Razor's so good at selling in this match. I love him. I love his sell of the punches. I just thought it was really smartly worked with all the counters. Yeah, that was a great match. I don't have a whole much. I actually don't know what is the discourse about this match. What do people, are they for it or against it? I think it's a solid match. Macho Man is fully cheering on Bret Hart. Not even really being like a color commentator, just being like, Bret should win.
Yep. Savage is going to be in for an interesting night. I'll say that. He is... I don't know when he's sort of introduced to the commentary at large. He's interesting. He's a very distinct voice, obviously. Ross and Brain and Bobby are so great at playing off each other that this is a very chaotic insertion into that formula that I don't quite get. So the discourse, it's not even really discourse around this match, is that essentially a whole bunch of people saying this match really is much better than people say it was, which doesn't really align with actually what you see from any outlet during this sort of time period. Like, a lot of people were for this match. I'm sort of maybe not as bullish on some people. They were saying like, this might be the second best match of the night. Like, okay, I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm there. I thought this was good.
Yeah, I don't know if I go that far either.
It's full of some fun little moments, like I'm always going to pop when someone has an arm lock and they get body slammed, hold it, and just drag their opponent back down with them, which Bret does to Razor here. I think that rocks. Razor hitting like half a dozen elbow drops, and then a sequence shortly following, and then missing half a dozen elbow drops. Fun, good stuff. Finish. I like it. It's really, really just slick. Razor going for the super back suplex. Gets cross-bodied in the middle of it. And Bret Hart wins. Bret Hart, not necessarily banana peel finish, but also maybe not most definitive of victories.
I want to call out the spot where Bret slides out of the Razor's edge. They fight over the black backslide pin, like who's going to get it. And then Bret flips over and hits a small package. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, the arm work. He did a lot of smart arm work. But I really like this match. I don't know if I would say second best match in the show. I don't know. Let's see what I think of the rest of them. But it was good.
We'll get there. Next up, Mr. Hughes versus Mr. Perfect, Battle of the Misters. So based on kind of the little video package ahead of this match, again, I know nothing about WWF during this time period. They show a package from Superstars where Hughes looks like he's going to be feuding with The Undertaker. Couldn't care less, except it will play a part in this match. I ended up pretty much thinking this match was pretty good. It is short. There's not a lot to it. I know a lot of people are going to say it's sloppy. I think Mr. Hughes is just a cool dude that I don't really care. Whatever you say. I love Jim Ross making the note that Hughes is one of the most penalized players in the Big 8 conference history, playing for Kansas State, which I think Brain is going to make fun of him later in the show, saying
Jim
everyone
Ross
goes to college. Do you know anyone that didn't go to college? Pretty much calling Ross classist as well, which is great. So, yeah, I thought this match, it's fun. It's fun. I really had a hoot of a time here. Dan, how about you?
Yeah, the same. I thought that Hughes moves really well, like better than I remember, and he is hitting all his moves really good, and Perfect bumps like a maniac, and I like it. Hughes seems really, really tired. Whether or not he's actually tired or just selling, I think he's actually tired. It works. It was sloppy, but I kind of liked it. Like, there's one point where I don't know what the spot was going to be. They both hit the ropes incredibly fast to then just kind of crash into each other. This feels like I said I met Hughes and now I'm just putting him over, but he also sold being crotched on the ropes.
Yeah,
I feel like he would actually sell being crotched on the ropes. It was really good.
It rocked.
Yeah.
His face is just And you guys, he always wrestles in sunglasses, so like he can't use the eyes, which I'm sure are really helping elevate things if you show those peepers. It rocks. And there is a particular bump that Hennig does that I was cackling over because it makes zero sense. He gets whipped into the corner, but his bump out of the corner is just a literal front flip out of it. Not like even ricocheted off and did a flip. It was like bump, stop, flip. And I'm like, what are we doing here, man? You don't need to do all that jazz. Just fall down. Just fall down.
The finish was weird because they didn't really see... This is my one gripe with the match. They didn't really seem to build to it. It didn't seem like Mr. Hughes was frustrated or couldn't put down Perfect. Just out of nowhere, he's like, no, I'm done with this. And hits him with the urn. Yeah,
it definitely felt like, okay, we're moving on. It's time to bring out the taker prop and keep things moving. It is what it is. It is what it is. You work with what you got. Are we ready to move on to our next matchup?
Yeah.
It's Bam Bam Bigelow versus Jim Duggan. I don't have a lot to say on this, quite frankly. I thought this match was absolutely okay. Just not a whole lot to it. But Randy Savage, with one of his just like elite tier comments of the night, about midway through this match, I pretty much unprompted, he does say, notice we haven't had a 3 count yet, which is absolutely true in the professional wrestling context. Also, fucking what? Dan, what did you think about this one?
That didn't stick out, but that is really funny. It was like, do you remember 2 minutes ago in this match when we had a 3 count? It's weird we're still here. It's a good match because I have very few notes except I write, I like that Duggan pretended to shoot him with the 2x4. And Duggan, unbelievably over in WWF.
Always has been. What a professional wrestler. How is this man not in the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame? Don't know.
But yeah, I mean, this was, maybe it was maybe 5 minutes. It was not a lot of anything. Bam Bam looked good and Duggan was over, and I thought it was fine.
Yeah. Bam Bam does a banana peel kind of missed kick at one point, which I thought was a real funny bump for a man his size. They're like, okay, keep winning me over, my guy. You keep winning me over. I've never been the biggest Bam Bam fan, but this tournament really doing wonders here for him not feeling like some of the athletic douches we got going on here in independent professional wrestling. Next matchup, Lex Luger versus Tatanka. Dan, how are we feeling about it?
I don't know if you watched all the segments in between. We don't have to cover them all. We skipped a couple, but I want to mention right before this, Terry Taylor interviews the Smoking Guns and the Steiners because I've never seen 3 men more bored than Scott Steiner and the Smoking Guns. They just were like, we're good friends. We're going to win. It'll be great. Which is really punctuated because then Rick does his dog-faced gremlin thing where he's barking and is very excited.
He's ready for it.
But the other 3, it's like they didn't know they were going to be interviewed. They are so bored. And I just thought I just had to make note of that. Like, I don't know why they felt they had to keep that in there or why they didn't do another take, but oof. But for Luger Tatanka, I mentioned earlier, I didn't think this was my favorite era of Luger. Because there are some weird stuff, like he's a narcissist and there's a mirror in the ring. I don't know that Lex totally understands that he should be mostly staring at the mirror.
No.
Which seems like an important part of being a narcissist.
I don't think he quite gets it. Yeah.
Which makes sense. Like this probably why I didn't like to say this. He doesn't get the gimmick, so how is he going to portray the gimmick? We talked about the pad earlier. They're forcing him to wear the pad. It's weird to be like, I guess there's in WWF logic, it makes him super powerful, but it's weird to force a heel to put on an elbow pad. But
yeah, I get it in the sense that like you want them to be able to take it off whenever they want so that it gets heat. But man, he doesn't really seem to use that to his advantage much at all. In the sense of like, hey, this is a nice little storytelling device. You got built into your arm here. Never going to touch that until not just the very end, but after the end.
The actual match, it kind of starts out wild. I mean, Tatanka runs down and sneaks around and throws the mirror at him, and then they're just they're on each other. This is a time limit draw that doesn't feel like a time limit draw. Like neither guy is wrestling like they're about to be kicked out of the tournament.
I was about to say, I felt every minute of this 15.
Oh, no. Yes, it did.
I get that now.
But like they're counting down. Like they can hear 2 minutes left. They don't change the way they work even a little bit.
These guys were going Broadway. They were ready to go the whole kit caboodle, and they're like, 15 minutes? Who knew?
But yeah, so that means that Bam Bam gets to go straight to the finals, and they did cut away to Bam Bam in the match, like a little. I think they had him floating in the top left corner, in which I think he says, "I want the Indian."
He did be saying he wants the Indian. I did.
Which is just, that's what you can say in 93. It's fine. It's just, it's noteworthy to me.
I did have that as part of my notes. I want to get my hand on the Indian. Bam Bam Bigelow. Yeah, and I had, this match sucks. It goes to time limit. Why this one? Honestly, right call in the end because it eliminates both of them. But also, feels like we had other avenues to get them both out.
Yeah, it's also weird because like, they're pushing Tatanka's streak, but it's like the last 2 matches I watched him in aren't exactly keeping him strong, even if he's not losing.
Yeah, the Luger post match is very weird because he
wants 5 more minutes.
He asked for 5 more minutes, which is in like reality, it should be like a heel move because like he can't get 5 more minutes. But this crowd, it's professional wrestling. They do not understand that. When a wrestler says, "Hey, I want 5 more minutes," they think that's on the table. They think, "Yeah, of course." But no, Lure here's this. He's big brother in here, the commission. It's not my fault I didn't get 5 more minutes. It's the WWF's. So that's a weird decision. Not gonna get 5 more minutes. Blasts Tatanka with his loaded elbow after the match. You got anything else to say about the best match of the tournament so far?
No, I don't think I do.
All right, we got to talk about this backstage segment.
I wasn't going to let you skip this one.
Because it is great. It's amazing. Because Mean Gene Okerlund
is a son of a bitch.
A real son of a bitch. Let me tell you that. Mean Gene, you son of a bitch, you. He is just really riling up both Bret and Hennig here. Really giving them the what for. During the match between Hennig and Hughes, they show a clip of Bret in the corner, picture-in-picture, baby, saying, "Oh, I think I'd prefer to wrestle Hennig. I just think, like, I respect him more." And then Mean Gene's like, "You said you respect him more, but what you really meant was you think he's an easier out. You think you'd rather go against his technical ability versus Mr. Hughes' just overall strength and badassery. Ain't that the truth?" And just really poking the bear here. And it's just a great tension building as Mean Gene's like, "Oh, well, hey guys, let's calm it down here. Whoa!" And then he didn't back up before we close it up here. Dan, what are your thoughts? What do you give me some commentary on this one as well?
Yeah, well, Gene, I have no problem with being a shit stirrer, but then he's so mad that they're fighting. It's like, guys, gentlemen. It's like, you did this. Like they were getting along like best friends, and he's like, "Hey, Bret called you a pussy." Like he did all of it. Like he made them fight, and then was like, "You guys shouldn't be fighting like this." And then the interview ends the way that every pro wrestling interview should really end, arguing over whose dad is stronger.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Bret Hart claims that Stu Hart beat Larry Hennig. I don't know if that's true, but he said it. So, and that really made Mr. Perfect mad.
So your dad never beat my dad. Let the record show.
It was great.
Yeah, it's a real piece of business here. And I love we just roll right into the match. This is immediately, it's time for Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect. After getting Mr. Mean Gene rustling their jimmies here. Damn. Let's get into it.
Great interview, right into a great match. Opens up with early mat work that, I mean, Bret, it was even better than the stuff in Razors. Bret, I thought it was strong, it was intense. Hart takes a huge bump to the guardrail. And that becomes the story of the match. Hart selling his knee. I really liked it. I mean, it's going to be oversaid about Hart, but just everything's so smart in this night for him. Everything he does makes sense and tells a story.
Yeah. This is a great match. There is not going to be a lot of me going into explanations. Oh, hey, here's why this match really works for me. Everyone's already said it. There is not, I feel like this match has been discussed to death. I'm not the biggest Bret fan, but it feels like everything of this match is just like, oh, it's clicking. It's clicking. It's moving. It's grooving. It's the hot 50 here. It is going to town. It is just a tight tournament match in the context of King of the Ring, of this tournament, of them essentially billing this as the first King of the Ring ever, which I will envision this now as the first King of the Ring ever. It really works. It feels like, okay, this is the match. This is the one that's really gonna be like, okay, Bret's having a great night, but here's his technical prowess one. So it rocks. I don't know. There isn't much to say.
Well, there's a moment of this that maybe it's me just griping, like being an old man griping about the current product, but that really stuck out to me is that how much Bobby the Brain Heenan is rooting for Mr. Perfect to be a heel. Because even though Mr. Perfect's a babyface right now, and him and Bret Hart are being nice, like when Hart goes for the sharpshooter, Mr. Perfect goes after his fingers with a hurt from round one. Heenan loves it, freaks out, talks about how smart he is and how he taught him that. And it's just the continuity and like the recognition of their own past. I don't feel like happens at all on the show anymore from what I watch. And I just really stuck with me.
Yeah, the commentary is great. And they set up the big spot that gets brought up a lot here is how Hennig does use the fingers to get out of the sharpshooter attempt, not even the sharpshooter proper. And I totally get that. It is a neat little moment, and it's all set up by the commentary ahead of time, making big proclamations around it. So they really foreshadow that a whole heck of a bunch early on. Don't constantly go back to that well, but let you know, hey, here's the Achilles heel. Let me tell you about it, and then kind of like carry on. We'll move on. This by itself, I think, is a little corny in the sense that like maybe gets a little too much play as a neat spot, just because it's like, okay, there's no real build to this other than he has taped fingers, and there's never like, it never felt like that was a dangerous point up until that moment.
I get what you're saying.
But also then it leads into a real hoot here of Bret not letting Curt grab the leg, which I think is a much cooler, smart spot of, okay, I'm going to tuck my legs out. We're going to really get into kind of a football stance here. You're going to have to push me back against the ropes if you even want a shot. But if you do that, guess what? I'm just going to take you over with me. And that rocked. That was a sick moment. That's like, okay, I've seen so many suplexes over the top ropes, but the way they kind of set that one up, it ruled. And that leading to the finish, also very cool. Oh, and it should just be noted that Curt Hennig dumped himself on his neck twice by leg kicks via Bret Hart, which is the fun. Again, you're talking about how Hennig's just this big bump machine. He just does some of the dumbest shit that also rules. And I was like,
yeah,
okay,
I know exactly what you're talking about. When Hart is just kicking his legs, so he's just throwing himself on the top of his head.
Yes, yeah. Like, he looks at the first time like he's a skateboarder who launched at the wrong angle on a half pipe and just went, oh, nope, down I go. At a 45-degree angle on the old Neckarooski. He didn't have to do it. No one was forcing him. He could have just landed right on his ass. No harm done. Probably just as effective. But no, he decides, I'm going to go all nutso wacko here and just nearly kill myself. What a character. That Curt Hennig. Any other thoughts on this match?
No, the one note that I had was the perfect plex, like reversal spot that you're talking about, and when it ended with them both crashing the outside. I called that out too, because sometimes when it's done now, or even back then, it feels like both guys are floating over, trying to protect themselves as much as possible, which, I mean, makes sense. But this didn't feel like this. This felt two guys fighting back and forth, and then when they finally crash over, they crash over.
Yeah, but it still felt very clean in the sense that, like,
yes,
it is a suplex that just goes from all the way over, and that's it. There is no extra flourish
and then, like
on
I said,
there.
It leads to the finish, and Hart wins with the reversing the small package.
Yeah, it is sort of a match that just kind of builds up to that climax of, okay, everything that has happened so far, all that legwork done on Curt is going to come to roost here. Even though Hennig was technically the one that got in the ring first from the suplex that Bret delivered. For Bret, it was just one big punch he was taking. For Hennig, it was a whole match worth of damage that he was having to fight off. So, it worked for me and then some. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah, they had the babyface handshake afterwards. It was good. We got to do this next interview too.
Yes, the Hogan and Jimmy Hart promo.
Yeah.
How about you lead us off here?
Well, this interview starts with a zoomed in shot of Hulk Hogan's face. What would you call that? Was it airbrush?
Yes, airbrush
on the Jimmy Hart's jacket. And I cannot tell you what was said outside of Dayton is the heartland of America. There's no water around here. There will be no sneak attack. This is what our babyface said in 1993. And this is not the point at all. This is not why anyone should be upset. But I need to bring this up because I don't know how many people have been to another center. Outside of it is a giant pond. So it's such a small part. Not the offensive part, but I'm like, but there is water.
It's right there. You can
It's
see
right
it.
there. There's no way you didn't see it when you came in.
God.
And outside of that, I don't know. It feels like just like the promos I saw leading up to this show and that, like, Hulk is done, man. This is like paint by the numbers. Hulkamania is going to run wild.
Yeah, it is one of the most xenophobic promos I've heard in some time. Hogan's talking about America being God's country.
Yep, a lot of that.
And just will not tolerate insults of God's country by foreigners. How dare they say anything bad about this land? What a situation. Also, Jimmy Hart takes off his glasses, and those eyes are just fucking wild. They do not look real. That man's eyes are out there. So much coke. Good Lord. I don't have anything else on the Hogan.
No, that's all I have on that.
You ready to get into Yokozuna versus Hulk Hogan for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship?
Yes.
My first note was that Hogan's pop was not half as big as Bray Wyatt's return.
Oh my gosh.
And that's kind of my major note here. I did not think this match was particularly good, though we could talk about the finish after you kind of give your piece. That does rock.
Yeah. This is weird because theoretically this is a big world title match and it's smack dab in the middle of the show. You can fact check this. There's a bear hug spot that lasts 17 and a half minutes.
It feels like it.
Like
How did they do that?
This is not an exaggeration. I got up, poured myself a glass of water, and came back in the room, and nothing had changed.
Yeah, well, the thing is, there's a lot of it. There's just a lot of bear hugs. There's just a lot of holds that don't seem like they're going anywhere for a very long time. It's wild. I've seen people say this is a real darn good match. Smartly worked. And I was like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about.
I like a lot of Hogan I revisit. This is not it. Oh, man. The crowd didn't even seem that amped up. Part of the joy of a Hogan match is that the crowd goes crazy for everything. They weren't going that... I honestly think that maybe neither of them were Bray Wyatt pops, but Duggan might have been more over it at certain points.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, that's mostly because of the match structure. Like, just wore the crowd down.
Yeah, this is just what a weird thing. What a weird choice. The finish, though. Goodness gracious, does that rock. There is a camera person. I didn't feel like I missed part of the context or what the commentary was saying. There's a camera person that is kicking away Jimmy Hart from taking him off the apron. He's got his camera, big old thing, ready to take a picture of Hulk Hogan, who's looking like he might just win this damn thing and bring Hulkamania back to this great nation. And it's a flaming camera. It just explodes, more or less. Shoots a fireball right into his eyes. And it's just rad as all hell. And what do you feel about flaming fireball cameras?
I would say approximately 1,000 times more impressive than when Scarlett recently threw that flash paper 2 feet to the left of Drew McIntyre. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes.
But it was a really cool spot, and this is like a little thing, but I like that when Yoko was coming out, they had multiple cameramen out there. They established that foreign cameramen have been documenting, the lead up to this match. Just, giving context of why these guys are out there. And I like the finish, and I like that after the finish, Yoko just drags him to the center of the ring and just murders him. Yeah, it felt like if you were going to be like, I'm killing Hulkamania, like, Yoko did it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. If
only there wasn't a 2-hour match before the finish.
Yeah, and also I just appreciate that the person that if there's going to be retaliation, it's going to be from a Canadian. So there you go. There we go. Okay, Yokozuna is our new world champion. Next up, it's Steiner's and Smoking Guns. Was there a segment between these things that I'm missing here?
Yeah, Terry Taylor tried to talk to Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect didn't want to talk, so then they went to HBK and Diesel, who said not a lot of anything but looked real cool.
Yes, okay. I don't know how I didn't have this down, but yeah, the Diesel being the new insurance policy of Shawn Michaels. It's just, this is it. This is the debut. This is the real situation here. Not the debut. This is like the real deal here. It's interesting. It's so Cyrus, Smoking Guns versus Money Inc. and Head Shrinkers. I don't have a lot to say about this one either, other than Bart Gunn went to school on a rodeo scholarship.
Well, this is like I mentioned in the last match, which I don't know what you do with it when you're going to do that finish. You don't want to take away from Bret Hart, but it's so weird to have what is that a big momentous world title match in the middle of the show, because then you have this match, which I thought was pretty good, but all the announcers are talking about is like Hulk Hogan's blind, Hulkamania is dead. There's a fun spot where it starts with Scott Steiner and Ted DiBiase, and they're doing some fun work, and then Scott gives him the clothesline to the outside, and Rick just throws him in, and that happens, I think, twice. Throws him in, gets knocked back out, throws him in, gets knocked back out. I thought that was really fun. And then on a night with a lot of smart finishes, this has Ted DiBiase gets, is it Billy Gunn? I think it's Billy Gunn. In the $1 Million Dream, holds it for 30 seconds, and then he just lets go.
Yeah.
Walks around, turns around, gets small packaged.
Yeah, and he do be looking like an idiot.
Yeah, I don't know if I missed something. I was like, I don't.
Nope.
That's it. That's the finish. All right.
That's the business. That's done. There we go. Wrap it up. It's a choice. I don't think it's a good choice, but it's definitely a choice. All right. Next up, there is a Yokozuna promo with Fuji. I don't know what to tell you. All I got from this is that they said they're going to celebrate in America. Is there something I'm missing here?
No, I literally wrote down nothing about it. I wrote down Yokozuna interview. Shawn
Michaels in his Intercontinental Championship versus Crush. My one note here really is Crush is just the ugliest fucker I've ever seen. He is just not a good looking person. What are you thinking about this match, Dan?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I remember now knowing that HBK was in a qualifying match, it would have been cool if he was in the tournament rather than doing this.
Seems like not a great use of time.
No. I remember thinking, I don't remember Crush being, I didn't remember him being so huge. He was really big. Macho Man, again, in his weird night of commentary, is a big Crush guy.
Big Crush guy.
I think he mentions that Crush might be the guy to beat Yokozuna for the title.
God bless.
Which is nuts. I think it's Shawn does a lot of stuff targeting Crush's head. Stuff that there's stuff in this match that if you wrote it down, I might that sounds interesting, but just when it happened, it wasn't. Nothing. I mean, Diesel gets involved with the cheap shot. It was kind of a nothing match. The two doinks come out.
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing to me, is that the actual finish didn't involve Diesel all that much. It involved the two doinks. I didn't get that. I know there was a pre-existing thing going on with the Crush in them, but we have this new character lined up to really put a stamp on Shawn Michaels and really give him that extra edge. That's not what we're going to do with him here.
Well,
it was a choice.
Diesel's my insurance policy, but if someone else pays the bill, I don't need to use my insurance policy.
That's fair. Yeah. That's all, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Let's get to the big one.
Let's get to the big one. It's a main event in the evening. It's Bam Bam Bigelow versus Bret Hart in the finals of King of the Ring, 1993. Dan, how are we feeling about this one?
Loved it. This is like the whole reason we do the show. We both love tournaments, and what better tournament structure than Bret Hart having 2 long, grueling matches, and Bam Bam Bigelow having about 5 minutes of match time under his belt, and having rested well over an hour. It was like, I love that story. I thought JR was really good here. Basically, they're putting over that it's a moral victory that Hart is even surviving against Bam Bam. Bret's selling the fatigue really, really well. Just there's a lot of hope spots, but like Bam Bam just keeps. It's funny because like we talked about Bam Bam being so agile and playing and like being underneath that Typhoon match. Here, he is just the big brute, catching Bret, slamming him down. At one point, he's doing repeated head drops to the back. I really like this match. What did you think?
Yeah, this match rocks. I think this is a really, really good one. The way Bam does his back suplexes, for Bret specifically, rules. It's like he's doing an atomic drop, but instead just poop straight down. And that's looks so brutal, looks so grueling. I loved it. The bear hug he's delivering on Bret. I don't know logistically if it actually works, but it looks very great because it's kind of like a sack of potatoes over his shoulder. You know, I did not like how the finish stuff happened.
With Luna?
With Luna. Kind of in the middle of the match. Bret's outside. Bam's in the ring. Refs not doing their fucking job. Luna comes out. I feel like I've blanked in the last name.
Vajan?
Yes. Luna Vajan. She comes out with a chair and whacks him. Whacks Bret. So when Bam gets back in the ring, does his headbutt, the crooked refs reverse the decision and decide, hey, this match is going to keep going because we need a clean winner here for King of the Ring. Which the match after is good. It's really good. That's just a weird moment to throw in there that I don't really think makes Bret actually look all that good. It makes it look like he needed someone to bail him out for getting smacked. But yeah, like this match rocks. There's not a whole lot I'm going to add to it other than the finish is neat. But again, Bret doesn't have a lot of like decisive victories during this tournament. And this is also not one of them, where he kicks Bam running at him in the corner, then bam, victory roll from the top. Looking real athletic. Gets the victory. New King of the Ring. Do you have any thoughts on that, like interference and that finish particularly?
No, and I get what you're saying. I almost wish there was a way to do it differently, but I don't know. I didn't mind it, but I could see having a problem with it. And like you said, it does make someone be like, wait, you gotta save Bret Hart. Because it's like that doesn't happen in every match. Like sometimes people just interfere.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, why don't we do this all the time? We see that. That's my thoughts, but like I don't think it takes away too much from the match. I think the way they did it, regardless, looks a little weird. Even if like Bret came in and kicked out. It just was interesting. It was interesting. But again, like that doesn't hold the match back from being a great David versus Goliath sort of match with all of the build-up that Bret has to go through to get here and all the lack of build-up that Bam Bam has. Right, again, to the post-match here.
The coronation.
It's a lot. It's interesting. I love, and this kind of goes back to your first point during the Ramon match, the Razor match for Bret, where Savage is just in the tank for fucking Bret here. Savage drops everything he's doing. He's doing commentary, not anymore. He runs into the ring, makes sure he gets the first handshake to Bret before going back to it, which I was like, man, this guy he's got no cares in the world. Bret gets all of his king stuff on. Lo and behold, it's Jerry the King Lawler questioning Bret's royal legitimacy. He said Bret can be a prince, nothing more. Then one of the most cringe things I've seen. I watch professional wrestling a lot. It is one of the worst things most embarrassing thing. People telling me this guy's a main event level star, like a huge deal, their favorite wrestler of all time. You're fucking weird. Because Bret starts a Burger King chant for Jerry. It was like, this is how we're going to mock him. We're going to call him the Burger King. And it's just entirely too embarrassing in my book. Lawler will eventually attack Bret for all this. I guess he's never wearing a shirt. I assume thought he was wearing a shirt. All I know is that Jerry's got no shirt on. Next thing I know after attacking Bret. All I can kind of register there. What are your thoughts on this finale to King of the Ring 1980?
I kind of have similar thoughts where I think Bret can be an effective promo. But yeah, that was real cringy. Lawler being nice, offering him prints, trying to be a good guy. I don't know if you're a football guy. Bret Hart gives me real Russell Wilson vibes, where it just
that might be a little mean. That might be a little mean.
I don't know. It just feels like I know how you want me to see you. But I liked it. I thought it was a good way to end the pay-per-view. I mean, you spend the whole pay-per-view building Bret Hart, and now we instantly know what we want to see Bret Hart do now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as far as the Russell Wilson comparison, I now think of Bret Hart, peak Bret Hart doing a Subway commercial. Spicy. No. Yeah, I get that. So that's it. That's the show. That's the tournament. Let's get into it. I always forget. What do we do first? Match of the night? Wrestler.
I think we do match of the night first, usually.
Let's do match of the night. Do you want me to go first? Or do you want to go first?
I would like you to go first.
I thought I would be unique, cool, go against the grain, but I don't think I can. I think the match of the night, the match of the tournament for me, is Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart this evening. I think that match has too much going for it. It's got so much intensity. They really make you feel like, okay, this is an important match. This is an important tournament for me. And I'm going to bust my ass. And for Hennig, that means, okay, I need to wrestle with that edge. I need to really go to my roots and do what I know has worked for me. For Bret, that just means, okay, I'm really going to have to grind this one out. I don't have a lot of bag of tricks here. So I've kind of just need to weather the storm here and hope I can do enough damage to that leg to get out of here. Yeah, that's my match. What about you?
See, I had you go first to see if I could will myself to make it Bret Hart versus Bam Bam. But no, it's Bret Hart versus Perfect. That's the match. I took those extra 2 minutes to really be like, the Luna stuff might be really good.
Yeah, yeah. I think that if it's not there, there's a very real chance I pick that instead.
They're both so good. They're close.
Yes. They're both, I think, great matches. So I feel like that should be noted. I don't think there's a huge gulf between them. One of them just has something that I do feel is a pretty blatant flaw. Which the other one doesn't in that sense.
Mr. Perfect, I mean, not a newsflash, can overbump, but I thought it worked so well in that match. The spot you talked about is such a small spot in 99% of matches. Bret kicking him, Perfect going to the ground, but the way Perfect kills himself is just so good, and that's the match of the night. It seems obvious. It seems like you can try, but that's the match of the night.
Yeah.
And then I'll go ahead and pick the worker of the tournament, which feels like with Super J Cup and now this, we're picking ones where the worker is a little obvious. I don't know. It's Bret Hart.
I'm going to cheat.
Oh.
Because I do consider the qualifying match as part of the tournament. And I do think the Doink versus Hennig stuff is too good. and I don't really like the Razor Ramon match all that much. So
what's funny about that is I didn't mention it in this show because I didn't want to come off anti Mr. Perfect, because I like him on the show. After the third Mr. Doink match, I wrote, seeing 3 Mr. Perfect matches in a row and then seeing 3 Bret Hart matches in a row, Bret Hart looks better.
Yeah, I get it. I get how we get there. I thought he looked better in the Bret match.
Now Bret's a little hamstring there, but he doesn't have a qualifying match.
Yes. Hey, he's the number 1 seed.
And we'll see. I like this. This is like one of our first big disagreements. Like normally we disagree all show and then come to the exact same conclusions.
Yeah. Yeah, and now we pretty much agree for the whole show and come to slightly different conclusions. So there's something.
I can't hate on it. I mean, I like the Mr. Perfect Mr. Hughes match a lot. So I mean,
yeah, and that's kind of the swing vote for me. Is like, okay, do I think the Doink matches I all think are good? I think the last one is really good. To me, weighing that against the great Bam Bam match was like, okay, like to me these sort of equate to each other to some degree. Not Bret's fault he didn't get to compete more, but you know.
Now thinking about it, I actually think that maybe if there weren't 3 Doink matches, maybe if it was just the third Doink match, the Hughes match, and the Hart match, I'd have an easier time picking Mr. Perfect. But I don't like that first match, the first Doink match, as much as you.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
So let's just get into our show ratings now. So I do want to stay up front. We are not going to be rating the non-tournament matches for the purposes of rating the tournament. And that is also because, like, for future tournaments, they might take place over multiple nights. And we won't be doing full show reviews. This just happened to be the case. We're like, okay, then almost the entire tournament takes place on that night. Let's just do that.
We did clearly discuss that, and I completely forgot that.
Well, then you better pick a new rating.
Now we're doing quarters, correct?
I think we've decided quarters.
I think I'm going to go 3.75.
Wow.
I like a lot of it, and the bad stuff is mostly short.
That's real. That's real.
What about you?
This feels like to me the platonic ideal of a 3-star tournament.
Ooh.
This is just like, okay, it's good. It's got like a couple of really strong matches. It also has like Lex Luger versus Tatanka.
Oh, it does have that.
It does have that. And while I don't think like a Bam Bam or versus Duggan or a Hughes versus Kamala or Tatanka versus Gonzalez are like matches against God and his will, they are also not matches that I was like, okay, those are kind of stinkers still. Or at best, they're okay.
Okay, I'd like to retroactively make it a 3.5 because I'm looking through all these qualifying. That also means I have Tatanka Giant Gonzalez. I have Mr. Hughes Kamala. I have that first Doink Perfect match I don't love. But I originally wrote down at the bottom 2.75. I hate Hulk versus Yoko that much.
Yes, and then when you remove that, like, oof,
so
things
I
change
immediately gave it another point, and I'm looking through it, and I can go to 3.5. I definitely like it more than you. I think that
I have to be honest with myself. I have to be like, okay,
yeah,
is King of the Ring 1993 one of the more renowned tournaments in American wrestling history actually better than Tournament of Death 3? I couldn't say yes to me. For me, couldn't be a yes.
And we gave Tournament of Death 3.5, right?
Yes.
So I'm there saying they are exactly equal.
They are identical in quality.
Which I can go to
That's
bed
what that means.
easy tonight. That's fine with me. I can rest my head on that. That's fine.
I think both of those results are very funny.
Necro and Bret Hart basically had similar nights. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. Yes. Green Phantom versus Necro, better than Razor versus Bret. All right. That's it. That's King of the Ring 1993. Any other kind of closing thoughts before we announce next show's tournament?
No, I don't think so. I thought it was really good. Like I said, it doesn't even seem like the most on night for commentary ever. It is such an indictment on current commentary. It was so fun. Everyone was so good. Even with Randy being a little annoying, Like, I just enjoyed it.
Yeah, like Savage feels like, okay, he is all three commentators now, essentially, it feels like. In a sense, like, oh, it's all chaotic. No one is really kind of, it's either incredibly scripted or just feels like they're just saying shit. Nothing really matters. He adds a very interesting spice that I do not love. But, like, it's so obvious that, like, Jim Ross during this period knows how to really bring history into everything. Really make everything feel alive. Like, okay, these are people. They are larger than life, but they're also deeply real. Mr. Hughes, yes, he looks like a total goofball with his glasses, his suspenders, but he's also going to dropkick someone. And also, yeah, he was a former college football player and was really stealing people's lunch money out there.
A point that I've made in the past, not on this show, but I want to make, that I think Bobby the Brain Heenan is one of the best of all time and is one of the biggest problems in history of commentary. Because he is genuinely hilarious, and everyone that comes after him thinks they are hilarious.
That is true. That's fair.
Like, people think they're funny. Like, he's funny. He's quick on his feet. Corey Graves isn't. I don't know an example, but like, just all the other ones aren't.
Yeah, it's like everyone doing improv in college. It's just like, okay, you're not good. You're not them. Sorry, you're not the Adult Swim crew. Get to the back of the line. Well, that's it. That's going to be 1993. Next episode, we are going to be talking about something brand new. Triple A's Triple Mania Roulette de la Muerte. I may have said that completely wrong. I was not also trying to say that with any accent. So if that came off, I apologize in advance, or I guess in retrospect. But yeah, that's it. That's going to be finishing up soon, you told me, right, Dan?
This Saturday, 3 days from now.
Okay, so by the time you hear this, that tournament's done. We're going to be doing that next time. I haven't seen anything from it. I'm pumped. I'm jazzed. Dan, do you got any plugs?
No. Just listen to everything on We Don't Know Wrestling. It's really good. Oh, real fast. So I did this last week when I just randomly watched ETWA tournament. And I don't want to speak ill of him because Inoki passed away. But I have this show in my brain 24/7. So Inoki passes away. I go to Cage Match. I go, what are some tournaments he's been in? He was in a shoot style tournament with Sting, a kickboxer named Tony Palmore, and Gerard Goudreau from UFC 1. Nobody watched that. No one watched any of that.
What do you mean no one watched any of that?
It's so bad, Sam. I know you're not going to believe me. It is so bad.
That sounds so... You know I have to now, right?
And then if I describe the matches to you, you'd be like, this is really cool. You don't want to watch it. The kickboxer, Tony Palmore, I think his name is, lightly kicks in the direction of Sting for what feels like 45 minutes. Sting wants nothing to do with it, has his hands up, backs up a bunch. And then Inoki runs away from Gerard until he ends up choking him out.
Amazing.
And then the final is Sting putting Inoki in an STF for 5 minutes and then another STF for another 5 minutes. It is so, so bad. There are lots of good Inoki matches. Everyone go watch them. Follow me and Sam. Listen to We Don't Know Wrestling.
There we go. Follow me at Concrete1982 on Twitter. Follow the podcast network at WDKWPN. Go listen to Quentin Tim R on the SoundCloud feed. I am been pumped with this show, so stay along for the ride. And thank you all for listening.